So, Obsession was written and directed by Curry Barker, and it stars Michael Johnstone, Indy Navarrete. If I mispronounce her name, I apologize. And it's about this guy named Bear. He loves this woman, and he wants to be with this woman. So he winds up making this wish on this thing called the One Wish Willow, where you get one wish, and you break the willow, and it comes true. So he wishes that this woman loved him more than anything in the world. And when the wish actually does come true, things go from 0 to 100 pretty much real quick. They are intense, they are disturbing, and we have a movie. So this is a movie I've been hearing about for a while now. I remember seeing a trailer for this like last year, thinking that looks like it could be interesting. But looking into it a lot more, it's like, okay, the story behind this is a little bit more interesting. Curry Barker obviously is on YouTube, so he makes this movie that kind of blows everyone out of the water, sparks a bidding war. Also, the fact that this movie was apparently so graphic, it almost had an NC-17 rating. Okay, let's see what this movie is like. And I'm going to be honest, this is a movie that I've been thinking a lot about since I saw it. I saw it 2 days ago. And honestly, I've been thinking about it a lot since I saw it. I don't know if I love this movie, but I do think I like it enough to kind of recommend it. But let's start off with the things I do like in this movie. First off, I do think all the actors in this movie do a fantastic job, particularly Indy Navarrete, who plays the woman who is under this spell and such. I thought her performance was really good. She walks that balance between being very creepy and very unsettling, as well as kind of just being normal. And it's like a lot of the stuff going on with her character is just very creepy and intense. And there's so many moments where it's like, I would not want to be involved with this situation whatsoever. Michael Johnston is also really good as Bear. I thought his character was kind of interesting as well. Like, he's not really the smartest person or really the nicest person. I think that kind of plays into a lot with what the movie's trying to say. Also, the other actor who I thought did a good job, her name is Megan Lawless, who plays a friend who is involved with the two characters in this movie. I thought her performance was actually really good, especially when you find out more about her character. I do think her character was interesting as well. I also really liked this movie. There are a lot of interesting ideas that kind of came up while watching it. And it's kind of thinking like ideas about love and, being infatuated with someone, and just kind of like, just because you're in love with someone doesn't mean you really know them, or all these other things that kind of came up. I feel like this is going to be one of those movies that a lot of people are going to come away from and say, this is what I got from the movie. But it's like other people may say, this is kind of what I got from this movie. I feel like this movie's going to have that. And also, I kind of like the idea is like, there's not really a villain in this movie. There is, don't get me wrong, they do kind of like play up with that, but it's like, you kind of realize that Bear's actions are pretty terrible, and you don't really sympathize with him. But at the same time, it's like you do feel sorry because he's just trapped in a situation. Meanwhile, with the woman in this movie, her character, at least, it's like, she's obviously obsessive, and she's kind of just not really herself for obvious reasons. And you do feel bad because she's trapped in a situation and it's not really her. It is kind of interesting to see. But this movie is completely unsettling. There were so many moments where I was watching this movie, and I just had to like go back into my seat because I was just so unnerved by a lot of the things that happened. There are so many unpredictable moments in this movie where it's like, yeah, I should have seen that coming from a mile away, but I didn't because I was already kind of invested in the story. There's one in particular about halfway through, which I don't like this. I don't like that they do it in movies like this, and I'll kind of go into it later on with the negatives. But there's one moment that really just made me go, no, just absolutely not. And I'm like, not okay with it. And I almost kind of had to look away. Any movie that can do that and still be effective, that I don't mind. Also, I do think that the scares themselves are built very well. In the sense that it's not really about if something is going to happen, it's more when something's going to happen. Like, you kind of see in the trailers, there's a scene at a party, and the way it plays out, it is so intense and is just so unsettling. You kind of just don't know, like, how this whole situation is going to end. But you just know that something bad is really going to happen in this scene. It is a very interesting scene, and I just thought it was really well done. The music score by Rock Burwell is also really good. There's a lot of synthesizers in this movie that are also, they kind of are featured heavily throughout this movie, but they're not overpowering in the movie. Like, again, in that party scene that I mentioned, there's actually no music in that scene, and I felt like they actually did the right decision with that. It's like the fact that there's no music in that scene at all actually made it more unsettling. The cinematography by Taylor Clemens I thought was also very well done as well. The movie does kind of have this old school feel to it that I kind of dug. It was kind of felt like something I would see from the 80s or something, kind of like one of those influential horror movies, but it's clearly Obviously, it's not from the 80s, but it feels like it was definitely taking cues from some of those 80 movies and such. And despite that, despite the fact that this movie is completely unsettling and definitely nerve wracking, this movie is also surprisingly funny. There were so many times where I was laughing throughout this movie. It's like not because of something really uncomfortable that I had to laugh, but it's just like actual funny lines of dialogue that kind of come out of nowhere. It's just actually really smart. And even while I was watching this movie, there were some plot holes that I noticed, and I was kind of thinking about them while watching the movie. And at least the movie kind of was aware that it's like, why didn't they just do this at a time? At least the movie kind of answers those questions in the movie. It's like, okay, I get you now. That's making sense now. But let's talk about some of the things I don't like in this movie. There are a couple jump scares in this movie that I just did not care for. I felt like, as much as I said that the music works in this movie, there's one scene where it's pretty early on in this whole spell where it's a two lead characters, and then all of a sudden the girl is scared by something. Um, Nikki, that's her name. Nikki is scared by something, and there's like a loud sound, like a loud music and such. But this may be a spoiler, but Bear doesn't see anything. I felt like that was just kind of a lazy jump scare, in my opinion. I definitely felt it was scarier as the movie went on, especially when they were building up scares, and I felt like they didn't really need that scene. Also, again, the plot holes themselves can be kind of annoying. I don't personally like judging a movie by its plot holes. I find that if I judge one movie by its plot holes, I have to judge every movie by its plot holes. That's literally the only thing that movies I like and movies I hate have in common. They have plot holes, and I guess it really depends on how invested you get in the story and such. There are a couple plot holes that you kind of realize very early on, and it's kind of annoying that it's like, why aren't the characters kind of doing something about this? Why don't they do something about it? And again, like I mentioned, those plot holes are eventually resolved in a way that is like, okay, fine. At least you're not completely stupid. But then again, they are completely stupid in this movie, so I guess I have to give it that. And also, again, the thing I mentioned, it's kind of complicated. And I don't want to spoil it because it is one of the more surprising moments of this movie. But there's something in this movie that is just, it kind of pushed it for me, and I was just like, that's not good enough. That's not good for me. I just don't want to deal with that. I don't want to think about that at all. And also, I'm kind of curious how people are going to feel about the ending for this movie. The ending, there's some things about the ending that I'm like, I don't know if I would have gone in that direction. I feel like it could have done something a little different, but I don't know what I would have done exactly, but I don't think I would have done this. Again, I'm trying not to spoil this movie because I feel like the less you know about this movie going into it, the more you'll be impressed by it. So, considering that this is Curry Barker's first feature-length film, I know he did a movie called Milk and Cereal, which was like a short film, and this is like his first major movie. I'm actually pretty impressed. I am very, very curious to see what he does next with his career. I guess he has another movie in post-production right now, which is really cool. So I'd be very curious to see what Curry Barker does with his career. So overall, I thought with Obsession, acting was pretty good, particularly from Indy Neverready, who I thought stole the entire movie. There are some interesting ideas and interesting conversations to have about this movie and such. I do think that there are ideas that are very interesting. This movie is, while very, very, very unsettling, it's also surprisingly very funny. It's pretty much a big contradiction of a movie. Like, it shouldn't work, and it does. Like, obviously, this movie is taking a lot of cues from ideas like, you know, the monkey's paw tropes and such. And it's like, okay, at least the movie is doing something a little different. I do think that the scares are pretty effective overall. It is very unpredictable. I do like the 80s feel from it, mainly the score and the cinematography and such. And again, it can be surprisingly funny. But I had a few issues with the whole plot holes issue, as I mentioned. Also, there are some things I don't really agree with, particularly some choices of what they use for scares and also the ending itself. This is definitely a fascinating, scary movie that I would definitely recommend seeing. I would give it, for right now, 3 out of 4 stars. See it. There's a part of me that does want to check this movie out again, because maybe some things that I thought about this time, maybe they'll go away the second time. But that would mean sitting through this movie again, and I don't know if I want to. So, Obsession, what did you think about it? And also, what is your favorite very small scale horror movie and such? Like, this movie only cost like $1 million to make. Like, a movie with a very small budget and such. Comment down below, subscribe to the channel. This is Pat. Stay safe.